How I paint realistic eyes in acrylic. Last week you might have seen me working on these set of eyes, but this week I wanted to do the same process just on a different painting. Welcome to Officially Destiny. Hey guys, my name is Destiny and I am an artist and I do art related things on this channel. For those who may be struggling on how to paint eyes, this is not necessarily a tutorial, but this is just what worked for me. So I wanted to share my process on how I paint realistic eyes, given that it's common in my work. So if you like it, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the following video. Bye! I wanted to show you my color palette, and if you notice, I used primary colors, which is red, yellow, and blue. You can make any color with primary colors, and of course I'm going to use white and black. I really heavily rely on white to make things lighter or to highlight, and then sometimes I like to add the black in the skin tone, but I try not to do that and just use the blue instead. But I use the black to do the hair, the eyes, any details that have a deep color. And right now I'm mixing the skin tone, and what I like to do is mix yellow, blue, and red, all those colors together, because you will get a brown color. However, if you don't want it as saturated, you're welcome to use white and black to mute it. Muting is basically when it's just a little dull, and you can do that by adding in gray. That's why I said black and white, and I like to do that in my work because I don't really like too much saturation in the skin tone, but I do like certain undertones. And for this skin tone, because it's like a medium skin tone, I'm going for like a yellow orange undertone. But when I do like darker skin tones, I might go for a more purplish or reddish undertone. It just makes it makes your work have more color than just being like a dull brown. You can also have other skin undertones if you're light skin, brown skin, or dark skin. But when it comes to painting, you want to make sure that you do have some sort of undertone, especially if you are muting the skin tone, so that it's not just like a very muddy color or very brown grayish color. Adding a little bit of red undertones under a deeper skin tone will make it more vibrant itself, rather than just leaving the paint too saturated, unless that's your style and that's your goal. But I find that for to get a natural skin tone, you kind of don't want to have it too saturated, if that makes sense. And this goes for other skin tones as well. If you're lighter skin tone or olive tone, you'll see your undertone, and it really helps understand how to paint your own skin color by paying attention to what your undertone in it. For me, I like to use the same section when I'm mixing colors in my palette. It just keeps the colors all cohesive as I'm painting. And I'm starting off with the deep colors, the base color, and then I'm going to work my way up to get lighter and add more highlights. I always learned in school it's better to start off with the shadows and then add your highlights. And for me, I do use a reference photo. I'm using a reference photo. However, I like to stylize my work a little bit because it keeps it just unique to how I paint a little bit. Or not, I wouldn't say unique, but I'm not trying to mimic what the person looks like exactly, but I do want it to still fall on the realistic side. Painting is mostly about value. If you look at a value scale, you'll see it go from black to white, but in the middle there are different shades of that one color. And sometimes understanding value can be difficult because you may see two colors that have the same value together, but one could still look lighter than the other. What I would say is sometimes I like to turn my image or whatever I'm working on, take a picture of it and turn it into a black and white photo so that I can see its true value, because I feel like it's easier to see the value without color. So in this moment, the value here is different, not too drastic. It's not super light or super dark, believe it or not. But if you turn it into black and white, you'll still see some contrast there. Contrast is what you're looking for when it comes to painting. Sometimes if you don't have contrast, unless that is your particular style, because I also believe in learning the rules to sort of break them, or learning how to paint the quote-unquote right way so that you're able to paint how you want to paint. I'm not against that at all. I actually encourage people to do that, because sometimes when I'm painting, like even when it comes to anatomy, I am capable of painting. I'm so off topic, but I just had to talk about this. I'm capable of painting something with the correct anatomy, but sometimes I like to do it funky, and I feel like I said this in other videos and stuff, but the same thing applies to painting. Sometimes I like to do what I like to do, and that's why I mentioned when I paint, I like to keep it a little stylized. And I don't know, maybe in my eyes I see it as a little stylized, because when it comes to realism, you have hyperrealism and then realism. Like, realism to me is just like, okay, it looks as it looks, how can I say this, close to true to an actual image or actual portrait of somebody. And then hyperrealism, it looks just like it, like every detail, every pore, every single eyelash, it looks just like it. I feel like if I wanted to do realism, or not realism, if I wanted to do hyperrealism, I could, but the way my mind is set up, I'm not doing that. I don't know. I would prefer to use color, like the blue that I'm using in my paintings. And I think, I don't know how the hyperrealism would work with that. I don't know if some people, I don't think anyone would look at my work and see hyperrealism. Not at all. But my eyes, the eyes that I use in my work, they're more realistic. I actually done more realistic eyes than this painting that I did here. Really depends on, like, I don't know, it really depends. But I use the same techniques in every single painting that I do use. And yeah, that's pretty much that. My tip for the eyes when it comes to realism is do not paint the eyes white. As you can see, I'm mixing colors. This is like my 10,000, as you can see. Anyway, I'm mixing colors in the same area, right? Like I said, I want it to be cohesive. It's just easier for me. And I kind of use minimal paint because I like to dilute it with water so I can layer, because this is acrylic paint, and as we all know, acrylic paint dries faster than oil. So no, I don't like to work in large clumps of acrylic paint or make it super thick, because that's gonna dry out quicker than you think. However, diluting it with water for me lets me layer the colors for one, and for two, it allows me to blend a little easier, because even though water also dries up, acrylic paint is water based. Well, the water will dry up, but it still gives me a little leniency. But as you can see, I'm layering it, and I'm getting lighter as I continue to paint. The image is becoming a little more rendered. It's a little more blended, and I'm working in layers for that exact reason. So I have some forgiveness to blend, to make mistakes, and to lay out where the colors belong. And I'm a type of artist, I like to use a lot of highlights, make sure that those highlights are popping. But right now I'm taking it slow. I'm not going to use a pure white to do highlights, because the highlights on our face aren't pure white, unless like you're standing in like some really direct light, it will look white. Other than that, most of the times the highlights on our face is like a color other than white. You would be surprised if you were to zoom in into a picture and you look at the actual color of where your face is highlighted. You're going to see that it's not white. And notice how as I continue, it's going to get lighter and lighter, and eventually I'm going to add the pupils in to finish that off.
Yeah. No. 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 Yeah.